are. Here we are, part 3, and this is St. Jude's Palm Sunday. And we see them exiting. There's Thelma Ravinski on the left. Here comes Leo Schultz and her husband Henry. There's Ed Rokicki and Mr. McNeil, Frank McNeil, coming out, and Mr. Ravinski, Pop. And we see Mr. Lang at the doorway. He's going to the left. And there's Ed Hale again. And here's Mr. Riddell. He used to be the custodian at the school. And you're going to see soon his daughter at the carriage parade. There's Jenny Carver. She was a Riddell, her little daughter. And you see Doris Carr to the right. And here comes some kind of a fire truck with a float. They're all lined up. And the onlookers on the corner of Union Street. Here comes a bear and looks like a duck. And a little boy. And they're zipping along on their bicycles. An old fire truck with Ed Hale. And we come to the fireman's muster, and that was quite a water ball sport. And you'll see here, you'll see Mickey Campbell, and I believe his brother. And one of the participants was Buddy Herder. Oh, the ball goes up in the air. Can you imagine? That must have been a lot of fun. And the spectators getting wet too. There goes Mickey down on the ground. Here comes Buddy, the middle layer, the white shirt. And you'll soon see Bud Allen. He's in here somewhere. There he is. And what fun they had, huh? They don't do that today. I've never seen it done. Perhaps they don't waste the water as they used to. I don't know if they had a goal or what, how they played this game. Now we come to another sawdust pile, and all the little ones are there trying to find the money that's put in there. Sifting through. Pennies were worth a lot in those days. And here we come to the Wheel of Fortune. And we see Florence Burke on the left. There's Chief Johnson getting dunked. Russell Quist is here somewhere. And Olga Sachs on the left. Now we come to a rainy day in Medway. And I don't know if this was a marriage or not, but they're wearing boutonnieres and corsages. There's Mickey Campbell. All the Campbell family. There's Dorothy. And now some more school children. I think we may recognize Anthony Mazzella in amongst these, or one of the Mazzellas right here. Another parade with Ted Pedersen. He was the commander of the Legion. His wife was president of the Women's Auxiliary. I happen to be the junior vice president. We have Franklin marches. And here we come, and this I believe is Earl Lang on the right in the Army outfit. And we Malcolm Green with the cane. I get those two mixed up, Malcolm and Austin, but that's Malcolm, I believe. And we have the Girl Scouts coming up, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I think Sylvia Quist was marching with this group. So we have another parade. We have Ted Pedersen and Fred Land. And we have all these fire trucks, this Norfolk group of children riding in. And how about this one? And the old ambulance. And look at this little girl twirling. All these girls marching along, drum majorettes and so forth. And we have the Franklin flag right here, if you notice. And here are some more fire apparatuses. We had them from Foxborough, which always had a white truck. We had them from Westwood, from Medway, from Wrentham. Now, here we have a group, and watch this maneuver. How about this? And there's an old fire truck. We saw this one before in an earlier film. There's one from Westwood, one from Wrentham. And a lot of fire trucks in this parade. And this might have been a wrecker from Laurie and Harris. I don't know. They had the gas station on the corner. Now we'll come to a field day at the town hall. A lot of the field days were held at the Federated Church, but this one is at the town hill. And we will see Dot Campbell again here. Here on the right is Bud Allen, and then we see the police chief, Campbell. Looks like Phyllis Gagliani there. Her husband was a doctor at the Norfolk prison. Now this is an easy way to get the dollar. Apparently no one was able to get it before. And we're back at another sawdust pile. And notice the bandstand on the upper right, our old bandstand. And pony rides. And the chief and Bud Allen, and that's some sort of a horse racing game. And here's the Wheel of Fortune. And there's Florence Burke with a white kerchief and a cigarette. There's quite a crowd. And that looks like Francis Hamlin just missed her. There's Georgia Jones under the umbrella with the Coca-Cola sign. And there's our old bandstand. Do you know who these are? These people are? I don't, but somebody may know. Here we have Election Day, and they were held in March, and this was the 7th of March, and we see the distinguished-looking Matt Phelan. He used to run the gas station at the corner of Needham and Main Street, and he worked for the Edison Company. He also became a selectman. There he is again. I don't know how he got out in and out so fast. And there's Nellie Carlson with the police outfit on. He worked in the town, had many jobs, worked for the highway department. And who is this woman with that fur coat and the dimples? Somebody may know her. Gentleman on the right looks familiar, but I can't place him. Maybe somebody out there knows. Or catching up on the news. There's a woman with a big fur collar. What animal did that come from? Now we're going on to the fishing game. It may be Harlow Pond. There were 3 ponds there. Phillips, Harlow, and Coolidge Pond. And this is Osa Johnson. She was a famous sportswoman. And she is casting there. Showing them how. And we'll have a gentleman on the left who caught one. How do you like that hat that Osa has on? It's like a coolie hat. A lot of the school children there. And she's casting out. And then again, here we are in a boat with the woman in the middle holding the rod, and the man on the right is baiting the hook for Osa. I think she knew how to handle worms, I would expect. But here she is again, reeling in on a flatboat. Some of the people that were there. Now we're going on to the May party on the 25th in 1938, and we have Mrs. Washburn. She's doling out the hoodsies for the children. And you see the children, the boys with short pants and knickers, and the girls with dresses and big bows in their hair. Aren't they cute? There's Mr. Washburn with a baseball cap on, and Mrs. Washburn still doling it out. Boy, there were a lot of hoodsies given out that day, because I never saw such a line of children. All the little ones are coming first. Now the older children are marching in. Girls with their pretty dresses. Anybody out there that may have been in this group? Perhaps you remember it. Here's a fellow with a baseball bat. I guess they played baseball that day too. Notice the long pants the girls had. They had quite a flare on the pant leg. This girl looks familiar, but I don't know who she is. Mrs. Washburn has help now. Her husband and another gentleman. That was a lot of work, doling those things out. Now here we have still more of the May party. And who is this woman in the white suit? Is she a teacher? And there's a sign. The children clean something. I don't know exactly what it says, but they're having their picture taken by the sign. And they have some kind of sticks or something there. The girls are very happy, dancing along. Even the adults had ice cream that day. And I guess pretty good ice cream. Now we have a maypole. Don't see many of those around today, but you notice that's mostly the girls that are involved in the maypole, and they're turning and twisting and up and under, and the two in the middle are holding the pole and keep it steady. This is the next day at City Mills, and the house in the background is Verschhaus, that later on Judy DeBeck lived in, Judy Faulkner, and the Dagans, Sue Previtt Dagan lived there. And they have a sack race, and a lot of them are falling down. It's pretty tough to do that. And there's Mrs. McBride, and another teacher, I guess. Somebody may not remember who she is. There they go again. Poor little girls that can't stand up and keep falling. Some of them are really sprite. She is. She's gonna try to make it, but it hasn't been easy. Here come the boys. It's their turn now. And Mrs. McBride. The auditorium in the Freeman School was named after Gertrude McBride. Now we have a three-legged race. This was an accident. I don't know, the truck was pretty much demolished, and this was Weber Duck in, and I didn't see any ducks there. We come to in 1938, we had the demolition of the Stony Brook Mill. The mill separated wool from fabrics and made inferior materials called shoddy. The woolen and cotton rags were mixed, and the wool was separated and shredded. Alva Wickland worked the night shift here and was paid 50 cents an hour, and he made about $7 or $8 at night. The whistle blew to wake up the day shift workers. The mill was on the corner of North Street, and there was a waterfall there, if some of you could remember, because our former tree warden, Phil Craig Jr., cleared it so that we could see the waterfall, but now it's all grown in again. And notice how they're taking this down with ropes. Can you imagine? Everything was done by hand. They're pulling and tugging away, and finally it's coming down. And you can see 115 toward the center. You'll see it more clearly in the next picture, I think. And notice the old cars at the side of the road. The men are resting. Maybe they're having their lunch now. Still some of the buildings standing. This was hard work for them. Now they're taking down a wall. See how they braced it? The whole side of the wall. All the men are working there, pushing it. I guess they threw something over to hold on to, I guess. There. It's moving. There she goes. And you can see the mill houses in the background. Imagine all the work that was done by hand. And here we are, July 13th, and we will see a man on top of the building, and he is taking those bricks off by hand. Imagine. Watch out, bicyclists. I hope they didn't expect him to do that job all by himself. I suppose they would reuse the bricks for something else afterwards. There he is, look at. Can you imagine what hard work that was? And he was a day worker. He probably didn't get paid that much. They used ropes, hammers, sledgehammers, pickaxes, whatever it took to get that building down and the rest of them. He'd better be careful that he doesn't fall. How long it takes to do this job, how tedious. Amazing. Now it's August 8th on a Monday, and we see they're still working on the building. Taking a long time to do this job. I wonder if that was an elm tree in the background. And there is a tall chimney, still standing. They're going to have to take this chimney down. Wait till you see. And this is the 26. And they're welding. I don't know what he's welding. I can't figure out what it is. And now we come to September 6th. This is 15 days before we have a big hurricane. And you see the chimney with the ladder against it. And all the wooden poles are lined up here. That chimney is tall. Can you imagine building that? I wonder how they did it. Now we come to September 9th. They're still working on it. This is 12 days before the worst hurricane we ever had in New England area. Coming up the east coast is 60 miles an hour. And it sneaked up on us because we didn't categorize it even because we didn't know about these things coming into New England. There it goes. Whoosh. It was devastating, and I remember it well. It came between 2 and 6 o'clock that day, and many stories are written about this one. The weather stations did not predict it as they do today, and that was the last day for the chimney. Can you imagine with a sledgehammer? They did it like it was felling a tree. And here we are voting again at the Grange, and we have, of course, Ed Hale on the right. And gentlemen coming out to talk with them, and the apartment house you can see in the background is still there. And Ted Weber coming out. I made an error in the last film. It was not Chick, his son, but probably David Cornell that was on the steps with the students chewing on something. There's Eleanor Freeman and her husband, Alvin, and there's a young Walter Holmes. And I think this is Frank McNeil, a police chief. Is it Hale? He's in a lot of these films. They're coming out the door, and you're going to see Peggy Allen Keenan right there. Her husband was Art Keenan, and we have a square corner named after him on Seekonk Street. And what is all that finger waving? It was a breezy day. And there's Ted on the left. And I don't know who the gentleman on the right is. Perhaps some of you know. Cute little baby coming out. And there's our town clerk, George Campbell, with his truck. We have Maddie Phelan babysitting. And there comes the mothers, I guess. There's Maisie Phelan in the middle. She was Matt's wife. She was one of the 15 Sullivans. I don't know who this family is. Maisie's story of her life would be found in the Norfolk Stories that was published in 1996. And as I say, she was a Sullivan, and there were 15 children in that family. And there come the little boys again. What family? I don't know. Here we have the water main, the water pipes being put on Main Street. That was a very tough job, a dangerous job. See them installing them? The first water pipes. Now we have another parade. There were many parades in those days. And the band that's coming along has uniforms similar to the Norfolk Brass Band uniforms. Possibly it is the Norfolk Brass Band. We had a uniform donated to us from the Holmes family. It was given to the Historical Commission. And there's nothing written on this drum, so I can't tell you if it was or not the band. And here are some more marches, Army uniforms. And we will see Earl Lang on the left here, holding a gun. And the nurses coming along. And here we have Malcolm Green. He's holding some sort of a sign. I don't know who the sailor is, but he looks familiar too. Maybe somebody out there remembers. Here come the Boy Scouts. The Cub Scouts, followed by the Girl Scouts. Helen Burns used to march in the parade with the Scouts. She had about 8 children. She lived on the corner of Miller and Myrtle Street in the old Miller house. And these are the children bringing the flowers and flags to the veterans' grave. And here we have the center school. And the first one, I think, is Josephine Candela and Liz Walter is coming up with the braids. Alice Fisher. Larry Hennessy, I think. I don't know who that other boy is, but Claire McMullen is there. And this looks like John Calmeza. There's Claire McMullen, and we have Barbara Bartholomew, Elsa White, Freeman, Peggy Calmeza, Ravinski, Lois Carlson, the blonde, Bob Evans, and this may be William Wiley, and we have Thomas Ravinski with the Hawaiian shirt. Anthony Bozella's coming up with some kind of a star patch on his pocket. And Richard Leveroni. There was also a Raymond Boudreau in here, but I don't know which one. Now we come to the airport, the hangar where many parties were held at that hangar, and I can remember having New Year's party and just about freezing it. We had the Red Baron plane. There was a double-wing plane that flew in the 1970 centennial. It was operated by a doctor from Newton. And this is at the Grange again. It played such an important part in our history. And just recently we had an open house. This is Dorothy. And we'll see some of the workers there. March. They did a lot of the voting in March. Mr. McNeil, I believe. If I'm not right, somebody's going to let me know. There's some of the workers. And here we are at a funeral. I believe this was Charles Demerit funeral, not the one that was first depicted in the first film we had. I think Walter Stone was the first one shown. He died in June because there were leaves on the trees, and Demerit died in March. He was 19 years serving as tax collector. There were 3 selectmen that died in 1947. One was James Anderson on February 19th, so you know it wasn't him. James Buckley, who served 4 years, and Francis F. Irving for 10 years. They all died in the winter time or fall, so there was no leaves on the trees. So I believe that was Walter. And Walter was the grandfather of the present police chief. Barbara Stone Evans was the only girl. He had 3 sons. He had Walter and Charles and Bob. Here comes Ed Hale. Here comes Ed. There's Ed Hale and his wife coming down the steps. And we will see Hartley O'Brien. And he was once a selectman. There he is with the kind of a widow's peak putting on a hat. He was also a selectman, and I interviewed him for the Norfolk Stories, but it never got in there, so we hope to have it in another book. His wife worked at the school. I think she was the dental hygienist there. And we have Eleanor Freeman there with the long hair, dark hat, and light coat. This was a big funeral, and probably because Mr. Demerit worked so long as tax collector. 19 years is quite a long time. We had seen the family, and I know I recognized Charles Demerit, whom I went to school with, so I believe this is Demerit's funeral. There's Charles right there with a dark suit and white shirt and tie. And here comes the casket, and the men remove their hats in respect for Mr. Demerit. This is the old Doopy store that Frank Rouse later lived in. He was our town moderator. It was a post office that was moved across the street on the corner. And Mr. Cavanaugh had a dry cleaning place here. He was our town clerk tax collector, and he ran the drugstore across the street. And there are some more children here. I don't know who they are, but somebody mentioned maybe Helen Robbins is in this group. So, and another parade. And there is Mr. Pedersen right here on the right. And they're marching along. And this little guy tagging along with his grandfather, I suppose. And this soldier coming up here, I believe, is Charles Stone, the father of our police chief. Right there. And we see the sailor with the white cap. I believe that's the former building inspector, Robert Ravinski. More scouts. Nice to see them in uniform. The little boys, one was wearing a hat, quite dapper. And now we come to the country fair, which we're going to see more of in our next segment of films, our next installment with the bicycles, and we'll see more of the doll carriage parades and so forth. So be looking forward to narrating again. Goodbye.